Is the team bought in on Deshaun Watson, and is the team bought in with Coach Kevin Stefanski? DTR has been by far the most impressive rookie quarterback that we have seen so far in preseason, and he's played 2 games, so we've had the biggest sample size, and in that sample size, we have seen him put up the #1 and the #2 rookie performance without question. Hello and welcome to What Are We Talking About with Jamie Jakes. I am him. Today we are talking about the top 3 stories that you need to be paying attention to on Thursday night, the opening game in the second week of preseason. The Cleveland Browns will be playing the Philadelphia Eagles, and there are a lot of extremely fun storylines to follow, especially in this first half of this game, if you know what to look for. So let me tell you all about it. Number 1, Joel Bitonio reported in practice that Deshaun Watson took a couple cheap shots in training camp, and the big deal with this is that Deshaun Watson is the starting quarterback. If your starting quarterback gets a cheap shot from an opposing football team while you're doing a joint practice, why aren't we seeing a massive fight where benches are cleared to defend your starting quarterback? That's something that usually happens when this sort of thing. One of the major things that'll cause a fight in a joint training camp practice like we're seeing here with the Eagles and the Browns. So I'm looking to see sidelines. How is Deshaun, because they're going to zoom in on Deshaun Watson the whole game. Is Deshaun Watson having fun conversations with his teammates? Or is he standing out on his own? Is he looking like he's having a good time? Is he looking like he's having a bad time? These are humans, and these are things that we can actually read from the sidelines, just looking at players hanging out with their teammates. You can see it with other teams like the Jets on Hard Knocks. All of their starters, Garrett Wilson having a goofball time, Aaron Rodgers being involved with the game, talking to Zach Wilson in his helmet, telling him to throw it deep. I want to see that out of Deshaun. I want to see the relationship with that team that he has. And, something that's a major concern with his history is the team bought in on Deshaun Watson, and is the team bought in with Coach Kevin Stefanski. We saw some stuff in training camp early on where they were running some sprints because of fights, and the sprints didn't look super impressive except for the guys that are on the bubble trying to make the team. A lot of reasons to be concerned about the Cleveland Browns going forward this season. A lot of reasons to be excited, and that's why I think looking into these kind of interpersonal relationships on the sidelines is a major focus point for me while I'm watching this preseason football game. Number 2 on the list of things to watch for, the Philadelphia defensive line against the Cleveland Browns offensive line. So we are going to see Nolan Smith, a D-end, smaller size D-end, who ran a 4.3. And we're also going to see Jalen Carter, the top 10 pick, who probably should have gone in the first non-quarterback off the board, but he fell a little bit because of some character concerns leading up to the draft and fitness concerns leading up to the draft. In the first preseason game, he looked incredible, and I'm looking to see more of that against the backups of the Cleveland Browns offensive line. Nolan Smith is a unique player, one of a kind, in terms of the amount of speed he has in the position and the size he has. A little bit undersized. That's kind of why he fell to the late part of the first round in this past NFL draft. And I'm excited to see Nolan Smith go up against the mountain of a man who is Cleveland Browns rookie right or left tackle, DeJuan Jones. They're calling him Thanos in training camp. There's rumors that he wears 5 gemstone rings under, or however many you nerds are gonna correct me, the gemstone rings, because he is gigantic and he is super duper powerful. He's kind of shaped like Thanos from the comic books. He has been shutting down all pros, Pro Bowlers in camp, being very, very impressive. Of course, the Browns don't really need a right tackle, but they kind of could use maybe an upgrade at left tackle with Jedrick Wills. So he has been jumping over to the left. He played on the left side last preseason game, so I'll be very interested to see which side he lines up on, if he lines up on both sides, and if we do get to see that matchup with him and Nolan Smith, basically 2 opposite sides of the spectrum, a guy who's way, way bigger than most offensive linemen, weighing in at 375, and I believe he's 6'8", and Nolan Smith, who's a little bit of a smaller defensive end, but one of the fastest defensive ends that we've ever seen come out of college. It's really going to see who's going to win that. I'm assuming probably both are going to win back and forth, but how is DeJuan's size going to match up with Nolan's speed? It's the perfect matchup because it addresses the major concerns for both of those players. The only pressure that DeJuan has given up in the preseason so far was against Chase Young, a Pro Bowler for sure this upcoming season, maybe an all-pro type of athlete, a guy who was highly regarded out of college, has had some injury issues in the past couple of seasons. I think DeJuan could be a guy, and in the future, I think this could kind of lead to maybe this interesting situation with the Jets struggling with tackle. Maybe the Browns send one of their depth pieces over to the Jets, especially maybe week 3-4 of the NFL season. If Deshaun does start struggling, if the Browns season looking like another dud, if the Jets are looking good, but they obviously need more help at tackle, sending Jed over to the New York Jets does kind of make sense for both parties, especially if DeJuan does end up being a guy like he kind of looks like from all accounts. And then finally, the number one thing to look for in this upcoming preseason football game is the Cleveland Browns offense, DTR, Dorian Thompson-Robinson, and Cedric Tillman, former high school football teammates, back again together, and these guys look absolutely incredible. DTR has been by far the most impressive rookie quarterback that we have seen so far in preseason, and he's played 2 games. So we've had the biggest sample size, and in that sample size, we have seen him put up the number 1 and the number 2 rookie performance without question that we have seen so far. He has thrown the ball 21 times. The ball has fallen incomplete 4 times out of those 21 passes. He's averaging close to 10 yards an attempt in the preseason, and he's mobile. And it's looking like that mobility that we saw at UCLA is really starting to transfer over to the NFL already. Granted, they're a little bit slower players playing against backups oftentimes, and that's why I want to see him against this Philadelphia defensive line. We're going to see how his speed matches up with the defense of the Philadelphia Eagles. It's a really exciting matchup. We're going to learn a lot about DTR, and hopefully we'll learn a lot about Cedric Tillman, a guy who was kind of 1A, 1B with Jalen Hyatt, who ended up on the Giants. There's a lot of hype from Cedric Tillman. All reports are out of camp that he is a guy, somebody that they're not worried about at all, somebody who's going to be playing kind of like that 4th string wide receiver behind an absolutely stacked Cleveland Browns, under the radar Cleveland Browns wide receiver room. Elijah Moore being your wide receiver 2, and Donovan Peoples-Jones being your wide receiver 3. Amari Cooper, a perennial top 10 wide receiver in the league, being your number 1 target for the Cleveland Browns. He's a guy who, with an injury or just as a depth piece, is going to come in and potentially really produce early on for the Cleveland Browns. A guy that you need to be looking at in terms of dynasty, if you haven't had your dynasty draft, or if he is available in less deep dynasty leagues. He might be a guy that you just want to stash before we see him on Thursday night if your waivers allow for it. So I hope this helps you enjoy the football game tonight. At least I think we're going to have a great first half of watching some pretty solid football and maybe seeing some future stars start to emerge out of the Eagles defense and the Cleveland Browns offense. We're going to learn a lot and we're going to have a good time. My name is Jamie Jakes. I just started this channel. We just passed our 25th subscription. So if you like this video, if you want to see more content from me, please subscribe, leave a like, leave a comment. I will be forever grateful. I think we had like our first natural comment from somebody I didn't know on the channel yesterday. Fellow Lions fan, shout out to him. I am Jamie Jakes. Thank you for watching. Good night.